At the time of me recording this video, I'm currently 22 years old, but growing up, all I wanted was a Harry Potter RPG. More than any other game, I remember wanting a Harry Potter RPG more than anything. We had a few Harry Potter games come out, but none of them let you take control of your own wizard inside of Hogwarts, which felt like the whole reason you would want a Harry Potter game in the first place. But here we are now. I'm a little older, and at this point in my life, I've happened to move on to other passions. It's been a really long time since I've consumed any of the other products inside the Harry Potter world. Like, I haven't even seen the Fantastic Beasts movies. I've heard they're good, but I haven't watched them. But despite that, I'm incredibly excited about this game, Hogwarts Legacy. It's almost certainly going to be one of the titles I pick up in 2021, but to be honest, I'm a little bit worried about the game. As I said before, this game's concept has been a dream of mine for some time. When I started hearing rumors about Avalanche working on a Harry Potter game, I was incredibly hopeful. And based on the time we started hearing about it, I was hopeful that it would be a truly next generation experience. But it sounds like it's not going to be. This is going to be a part of the annoyance of the start of this next generation, but you'll see what I mean. This game's being developed for this current generation and next generation. And to be honest, it kind of shows in some parts. Don't get me wrong, there's plenty of time between now and launch for them to polish things up, and even in the trailer that we got at the PS5 event, there are some genuinely incredible shots, some of which you're seeing on your screen right now. These look truly fantastic, especially when you start looking at some of the lighting on these scenes. Very, very cool. But I'm gonna be honest, the character models don't look fantastic. I know this sounds like a nitpicky thing, and I recognize that, but if you're new around here and you've never seen one of my videos before, please don't confuse me with one of those channels that just brainlessly hates on whatever the new hot game is. If you look at my body of work, I'm incredibly charitable to developers because I understand the struggle that goes into designing these games and actually developing them as a product. I've never worked in industry, but I have friends who work in industry, and even when you just think about it, these are incredibly difficult productions. So as a result, I do try to be as lenient as possible with developers. And to continue that charitability, I'm still incredibly optimistic about Hogwarts Legacy. Like I said, it's definitely one of those games I'm going to be picking up in 2021. But the big appeal to this game for me is stepping into the world of Hogwarts with your own wizard. And if we're going to be doing that with our own characters, stepping into this world of Hogwarts, I want those characters to look like they're part of the world. But the characters we've seen so far through the trailer, I don't know what it is about the character models. The hair textures don't look great. It kind of looks like one of the WWE games. And yeah, that's not great. Even the character models themselves don't look fantastic. And I don't know what it is because the lighting in the environment is great, but the lighting on the characters, not so much. I don't know if it's the shading or something. It just doesn't look right to me. And because characters are going to be such an important part of this game, I do hope that this is something that is improved upon between now and launch, especially for those next generation consoles. Again, I know it sounds like nitpicking, and maybe it is, but I think if we're going to be stepping into the world of Hogwarts with our very own wizard, I feel like the artistic direction and the execution of said artistic direction, specifically for these character models, needs to be a priority. Your wizard needs to look the way you want it to, whether it be an homage to yourself or some original character you want to make in this world. It needs to look like a part of that world. And so far, there seems to be an artistic mismatch between the character models and the world that we're in. I also have a bit of a concern for combat. I'd like to think that I have a pretty decent mind for game design. When I start thinking about characters that will show up on my favorite games, whether it be a fighting game or even like an action RPG or something like that, I have a general idea of what those movesets are going to look like, and I can understand how they're going to be balanced, right? Batman, for example, is a character who historically has a grappling hook. I can imagine that he's going to have certain moves in certain fighting games, or I can imagine certain mobility options he's going to have in an action RPG. Batman's just an example, but I can do that roughly with most characters, and I can understand how those will translate into gameplay mechanics, but I genuinely have a really difficult time imagining what a general wizard from the world of Harry Potter would actually do from a combat gameplay perspective. Mechanically, I'm talking about. I mean, I do not envy the designers at all. They have to make a combat system that not only feels good from a gameplay perspective, but they also need to make something that's true to the source material, and you have to do that with pretty much every IP that you make a game for. But I think it's going to be particularly difficult for the world that is Harry Potter. And the snippets of cinematic gameplay that we've seen so far don't exactly inspire confidence from me. The gameplay we've seen doesn't look bad. It doesn't even come close to looking bad. They didn't really show us enough to be disappointed or to be impressed, but that's what I mean, right? What we've seen did not inspire hope from me. All right, that's enough negativity from me. It's not my style anyway. Everything else that we've seen looks fantastic. From what it looks like, you can end up in any of the 4 factions, which is fantastic. That's a part part of the idea of putting your own wizard in Hogwarts. You know, I don't want to be forced into Slytherin or Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, or Ravenclaw. I want to go into whatever faction seems fit for my character. The environments are incredible, right down to the textures and the lighting. It all looks fantastic. The visual effects on especially the spells are awesome. The team over at Avalanche clearly loves and cares for this series. We've already seen tons of different references and classic creatures, just to name a couple things that we've seen so far that had me particularly excited. We've got Dementors in the game, which I'm incredibly excited about because they're by far my favorite enemy type in the entire Harry Potter world. Growing up, Prisoner of Azkaban was definitely my favorite Harry Potter film, so of course I'm incredibly happy to see the Dementors are going to be in this game. Hopefully that means we get to make our own Patronus, which would be awesome. We've seen flyable hippogriffs, which, you know, they've already got my $60 for that, you know, or $70, depending on what they're doing with Next Generation, I guess. I want to take a moment to read the description of the game, just in case you haven't seen it yet. Maybe I should have done this at the start of the video, but heck, we're already here, right? Hogwarts Legacy is an immersive open-world action RPG set in the world that was first introduced from the Harry Potter books. Now you can take control of the action, be at the center of your own adventure in the wizarding world. Embark on your own journey through familiar and new locations as you explore and discover fantastic beasts. Customize your character and craft potions, master spellcasting, upgrade talents, and become the wizard you want to be. Experience Hogwarts in the 1800s. Your character is the student who holds the key to an ancient secret that threatens to tear the wizarding world apart. You received a late acceptance letter to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, and soon discover that you are no ordinary student. You possess an unusual ability to perceive and master ancient magic. Only you can decide whether you will protect this secret for the good of all, or yield to the temptation of more sinister magic. I'm kind of getting like Fable vibes. You know how with Fable, you can play through the whole game being a bad guy or a good guy? Kind of getting vibes like that, which I'm totally down for. That sounds awesome. Discover the feeling of living at Hogwarts as you make allies, battle dark wizards, and ultimately decide the fate of the wizarding world. Your legacy is what you make of it. Oh my god, I'm getting so many Fable vibes, bro. I love it. Regardless of what direction they're taking with the story, it sounds like there's a large degree of customization along with an interesting story. This game sounds incredibly ambitious, and I've been excited about it ever since we first started hearing leaks. Everything they've shown us so far looks pretty damn good. But it is that very ambition that I mentioned that has me worried. The game has to deliver on so many of those ambitions that not only the fans have, but probably the development team themselves have. Fans have been waiting for this game for over a decade, and I recognize how difficult it is for a studio to put out a game like this. There is a lot of work that goes into delivering some of these incredible things that we want to see. For example, let's just take hippogriff riding. Creating the flight system is just the first step for said hippogriff flight. The story team needs to come up for a reason for us to even encounter a hippogriff, and then from there, they need to come up with a reason for us to ride one. The team responsible for level design and world building and the architecture of what we're going to experience in the Hogwarts world need to keep in mind that at some point players are going to have access to a hippogriff that they can fly, so now they need to know that, okay, well, we can't put invisible barriers here, we can't do this thing here because the hippogriff needs to be able to fly over here, and now the people in charge of lighting also need to keep in mind that the players are going to see the entire world from above. A designer needs to come up with limitations for the hippogriff flight system. Are players going to be able to use a hippogriff wherever the heck they want? If you can't use a hippogriff wherever you want, where do you limit it and why do you limit it there? And what's the story explanation for that? And even when you have the correct answer for all of the questions we just talked about, well, now you need to ask yourself, how do any of these questions and the answers to them impact the rest of the vision of the game? Now that I can ride a hippogriff here, well, how does that impact the story 3 chapters from now or whatever, right? And all of that complication that we just talked about is for a system as simple as riding a hippogriff. On top of that, I want more. I want a Quidditch World Cup. Half of the reason I would go to every single new Harry Potter movie was to see the new Quidditch match. I need Quidditch to be in this game somehow. Please, if you don't give me Quidditch, I'm gonna be so freaking sad. Heck, I want a Goblet of Fire tournament, right? That was a major part of the Harry Potter story, and it's an incredible part of the world, seeing all those different schools come into Hogwarts just to participate in this tournament. And why not have a version of that in this game, other than, of course, the limitations of game development like we just talked about? The new game is set in the 19th century, but the Triwizard Tournament is a competition that's been going on for over 700 years. So why can't we just say that there's a tournament happening right now? Or perhaps that would work perfectly as some DLC content. I don't know, man. I just want all of this awesome stuff, but at the same time, I recognize literally all of these things that we bring up is just another ambition, another incredibly difficult goal for the developers to reach, and I don't know how much is too much to ask for. So it's hard for me to get excited about this game. Maybe I shouldn't say that. It's hard hard for me to want more from this game because what they already have set up is incredibly ambitious, and anything else I add to that pile is like, eventually the camel's back is gonna break, right? So it's like, how many straws can I keep putting on the back, you know? Like I said multiple times in this video, I'm excited for this game, but damn, it's so ambitious. It has me so worried. I feel like they have to deliver here, and if they fall short on any of those expectations that Harry Potter fans have, things like Quidditch, things like Hippogriff riding, things like the Patronus, things like different spells that we want to see, if they miss the mark on any of these, it'll be so disappointing because we've been waiting for a game like this for over a decade. I have faith that Avalanche will pull through. I'm just a little worried. I want to thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed and you're new around here, I'd very much appreciate it if you could take the time to subscribe. It helps out the channel a lot. My name is Bilbzy, and I'll be sure to catch you in the next video.